Epilepsy, a neurological condition that occurs when an abnormal surge in the brain's electrical activity causes seizures to develop. These can range from uncontrolled wrenching movements to momentary loss of awareness or consciousness. Over the last 50 years, we've seen tremendous strides in the treatment of epilepsy. And many of these advancements are the result of innovative programs and surgical procedures developed, tested, and offered right here at the Yale Comprehensive Epilepsy Center at Yale New Haven Hospital.
When the Epilepsy Center started here at Yale and Yale New Haven Hospital, the state of diagnosis and treatment of epilepsy were fairly primitive compared to current standards. The treatment was limited to about 3 anti-epileptic drugs.
When Dr. Richard Mattson joined Yale New Haven Hospital medical staff in 1967, he wanted to establish a formal clinical epilepsy program, which involved continuous, closed-circuit encephalographic or EEG monitoring of a patient's brain activity. In collaboration with the hospital, he started an epilepsy unit, which was initially located at the Connecticut Mental Health Center and later transferred to West Haven Veterans Administration Hospital. At about that same time, videotape as a recording device had been introduced, and Dr. Mattson thought that this new medium of a video camera combined with EEG recording would be an ideal method for monitoring and recording epilepsy patients over a long period of time. This would be useful toward diagnosis and determining where in the brain seizures began. By the early 1970s, 24-hour video EEG monitoring had become the standard for helping to diagnose patients with epilepsy. In 1972, the Veterans Administration formally designated the West Haven Veterans Administration Hospital as an epilepsy center. A few years later, Dr. Mattson began a 15-year collaboration with colleagues from Veterans Administration epilepsy centers throughout the United States to evaluate anti-epileptic drugs. This trial, which included Yale New Haven Hospital patients, would become the largest controlled trial ever conducted in the field of epilepsy. However, by the mid-1970s, a new surgical procedure to diagnose and treat epilepsy was on the horizon.
The epilepsy surgery program began in 1976, and it was based upon the audiovisual monitoring capabilities that Dick Mattson had put into place, and was based on the fact that we had a large volume from his clinical trials of patients who still had epilepsy despite the most effective drugs.
Dr. Spencer enlisted the Yale University Electronics Engineering Lab to develop electrodes that could be surgically implanted in the brain, a modified version of a probe developed at the Mayo Clinic.
Now these patients had electrodes in the brain, in specific areas that we were suspicious about.
It was this advancement that enabled the team to better locate where in the brain seizures were originating, so those areas could be surgically removed. Within a few years, the epilepsy medical team had expanded to include Dr. Susan Soloway Spencer, and quickly became one of the largest and most important comprehensive epilepsy centers worldwide. In 1990, a new inpatient unit focusing on surgery opened at Yale New Haven Hospital, coexisting with the unit at the VA. And the Epilepsy Center's ongoing leadership in clinical trials resulted in new therapies and major technical advances, keeping the center at the forefront of diagnosis and treatment.
Some of the major advances in epilepsy in the past few decades, many of which the Yale Comprehensive Epilepsy Center has been very closely involved with, are advances in anti-seizure medications, in brain imaging, especially magnetic resonance imaging. The other big advantage that have come really in the past 5 to 10 years includes implanted brain stimulators. Laser ablation is now used, so rather than having to open the skull and remove the piece of the brain where the seizures are coming from, you can now put a very thin probe in and heat it up enough to destroy the abnormal cells that are causing the seizures.
Today, the Yale Comprehensive Epilepsy Center's Level 4 rating is the highest rating given by the National Association of Epilepsy Centers. With a multidisciplinary care team, the center offers both inpatient and outpatient services to patients like Susan and Danny.
The Epilepsy Center has changed my whole life completely in the way that now I don't have seizures, I'm not as tired, I can go out and do what I want, I can drive, I've gone to work and made a career, and now I'm retired and I just go down and have a good time and enjoy my life now, do everything I want.
They just kept working at it, and when they found that we could do this surgery, our life is back. She got out of the hospital. A week later, she walked through the doors of her high school, no wheelchair. I can't even describe how happy we are.